from September till forever. Page 18. Do you have some weed? She asked. I don't. Whoa, do you like being high? All the time. Well, not literally all the time, but you know, she said with a smirk. You are perfect. Wait, I'll make some calls. Come on. Don't you see it's boring around here? I thought I was being funny, I told her. I'm having fun with you, but with some weed, it'd be even better. I called up some friends to meet us near the casino in Constanza. My friends were typical fuckboys, so I came up with a plan. I didn't want them to know her real name, figuring they search for her on the internet. So I suggested something to Mara. Wanna play a little game with my friends? What do you mean by play? I'll tell them you don't speak Romanian, that your name is Olga and you are a tourist from Ukraine, from Odessa. Come on, I'll try to stay quiet in Ukrainian. Just make sure you keep quiet fluently, I teased. My friends were practically drooling when they saw how stunning she was. They talk about her freely, not suspecting for a second that she understood every word. We ended up sitting on some stairs by the sports hall in Constanza, taking a few pictures. Then we noticed we were under a surveillance camera. We panicked, grabbed a taxi, and headed back to the hotel. In the taxi, I started filming her without saying a word. It was a feeling I never experienced before, something I wanted to capture. That's when I saw art for the first time, not just as a concept, but as something real, something alive. I saw her in the way she never saw herself. In that taxi, it felt like we were on a spaceship, caught up in our own love odyssey. The odyssey started with me thrown into the friend zone, or at least that's how it felt. Mara thought I was the one who put her there, but I had done it because I couldn't handle her any other way. I was sitting on the deck chair smoking and drinking beer, already feeling relaxed. I had this faint hope that maybe I could get to her room later. I pulled out my camera and set it on a deck chair, wanting to capture the vibe, but in a careless moment it fell into the sand. She told me that this was okay, that I figured it out somehow, but sand is the enemy of cameras and my lens was full of it. All I could think about was getting home to try and clean it out. I walked her back to the hotel, then headed home. On the way, I realized I was an idiot. After all, it was just an object. But if you are an idiot and you realize you are one, maybe that makes you only half an idiot. The next day, we found ourselves in the lifeguard shack, getting drunk and talking about everything possible and impossible. I started doubting my ability to kiss a woman. I was so shy around her that if she looked into my eyes, I wanted wanted to shrink, fold up, and tuck myself into the pocket where I kept my lighter. On the third day, I gave up on seeing her again. Instead, I went out with another girl and had sex with her just to prove to myself that I wasn't a scary cat, but it was just a tasteless, empty sex. The whole time, I could only think of Mara. I was terrified of the idea of being with her, even though it was a pointless fear. I felt like a superhero who had just discovered his weakness. Mara was sophisticated, used to dating guys with money, businesses and projects, men who jingled with the keys to the multiple cars, apartments, offices and properties. Meanwhile, I had the key to my apartment door and the key to my building. She made me feel like I was on top of the world and completely inferior at the same time. End of August 2011. The summer was flowing naturally, as summers do. Every year I found myself thinking about the summers that came before, always convinced that the previous one had been better. Melancholy has a way of tricking you into believing the past was more beautiful than it really was. I was a person of extremes, both pragmatic and dreamy, the most optimistic pessimist you'd ever met. I liked that more than calling myself the most pessimistic optimist. Money didn't interest me. I was searching for pure love, but I didn't love Mara yet. At the end of August, she came back to the sea. I didn't want to see her anymore because I was afraid of falling in love with someone so unfamiliar, so strange. My problem was I could never let go of something I liked. After 2 hours of convincing myself I wasn't interested in her anymore, I still found myself waiting for her at the hotel reception. It felt like a déjà vu. She was different. She gained a few pounds, but she was still beautiful, even fluffier, and I realized right then that I like her no matter what. If I could have taken her brain and put it in any other body, I'd have liked her just as intensely. She had this super cool side, artistic, funny, quiet, poetic. loving, but also a dark side filled with secrets. She was interested only in money, diabolical, selfish even, and I liked her with all her darkness. Darkness helps us see the stars after all. My own dark side felt sunny when it came to her, like a sunset with orange sky and the smell of summer rain lingering in the air. We sat on the deck chair until morning. There wasn't even a breath of wind. Before we met, the waves were crashing. The wind was strong, but when we were together, it was like nature itself calmed down. We talked and watched the stars, and for a moment, everything else fell away. It's so good by the sea. I would move here, Mara said. When I get my own flat, I'll ask you to come over, lock you up, and I'll swallow the key, like in the cartoons. I'd come right away. You won't get rid of me anymore. Did you notice that there is no more wind? Wind is like we're in a void. The sea has been still since we got here. I know, right? Did you know that this happened last time too? Yes, we make waves on the shore, I told her. She laughed and took a puff of her cigarette. With her, even conversations about weather weren't boring. There were moments when we didn't speak for half an hour, and usually that kind of silence with someone else would feel awkward, but with her, the quiet felt different. The silence was like a calm conversation in itself, so peaceful that night faded into morning with her in her hotel bed and me in mine back home. Not even a good night kiss. I was too shy with her. The next day, I did the same thing all over again. I entertained the idea of putting an end to it, but it was just a fleeting, superficial thought. I was trying reverse psychology on myself, secretly hoping the universe would surprise me. Page 23. I'm not in the mood to go outside and film some cinematic shots because it's too much work. I drive a lot to get the perfect shots, and I don't think it's worth it, but it's okay to read in the house too.